It's midweek. Hello and welcome to Business Life. Coming up in this edition, Bank of Ghana expects increase in cash reserve ratio of banks to boost lending to enterprises and help stabilize the Cedi.
Have to make an extra effort to do what banks are supposed to do, which is financial intermediation, and really not just investing in high yield in government or Bank of Ghana securities.
Banking consultant urges government to engage various financial sector regulators on settling arrears owed members of Locked Up Investment Holders Forum as the group vows to go all out to demand their locked up funds.
I would urge the Security and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Ghana to sit down with the Minister of Finance to resolve these issues as soon as possible.
Today on the Joy Business Van, we follow the story of Theophilus Asifu Abuaje, who is navigating the path to success in engineering. Details of these and many more for you. Please stay. Thanks so much for your time. I am Pius Kojo-Baka. We can now take a look at our stories. And the Bank of Ghana expects the increase in cash reserve ratio of banks to boost lending to enterprises and help stabilize the Cedi. The central bank announced on Monday that banks will have to increase their cash reserve ratio based on loans granted as a percentage of their deposits. The move has been influenced by increasing number of banks that are still sitting on a lot of cash but are not lending. Dr. Addison is governor of the Bank of Ghana.
If you look at the bank's books, you would see that quite a number of banks are not lending. The credit to the private sector is very weak. And instead, these banks are putting most of their resources into Government of Ghana bills or Bank of Ghana bills. Now, this measure is to sort of change the incentives for the banks so that if you're a bank and your loan to deposit ratio is above 50%, your cash reserve ratio is kept at where it is, which currently is at 15. If your loan to deposit ratio is below 50%, you would have to put more of your resources into cash reserves at the Bank of Ghana. We will lock it up for you. Now, if it's even worse than below 40, we could take 25% and lock it up for you, right? You're not going to earn anything from those resources. So the banks will now have to make an extra effort to do what banks are supposed to do, which is financial intermediation, and really not just investing in high yielding government or Bank of Ghana securities. This is really the thinking behind those measures. So obviously, if that happens, we expect that to impact on Cedi liquidity, right? And thereby, if you have the Cedi liquidity also in the foreign exchange market, this measure should withdraw that liquidity and therefore should also be supportive of a stronger Cedi. So really, that's the reason for the increase in the CRR.
You're still watching Business Life with me, Pius Kojo-Baka. To one developing story you are learning this very moment, the $300 million World Bank facility has finally hit the Bank of Ghana's account. Now, this was after Ghana met all the conditions to aid in the transfer. And my colleague, George Biafe, who has been following up on that story, has joined me in studio. George, so tell me quickly, we know the funds have hit the Bank of Ghana's account now. What's going to be the utilization of these funds?
Well, Pius, a quick background to
right.
this. Now, this is coming from the World Bank. It is part of the IMF program that Ghana has signed. And this thing should have actually come in last year, but due to our inability to meet the conditions to trigger this funding, it is now coming in. So it is part of the broader IMF program that Ghana has signed up to. Now, we understand that all the facility is going to support projects that are identified in the budget. One of the critical projects that this will support is some infrastructure projects in terms of drainage in this metropolis. So it is basically going to support some projects that have been identified in the budget.
All right, so ultimately, we are looking forward to this having an impact on the city.
You're right.
Tell us more.
So the Bank of Ghana's international reserves ending February stood at more than $6 billion. What this would do is more the signaling effect, because $300 million is just a drop in the ocean. Now, one of the things that is fueling the depreciation is the fear that the Bank of Ghana might not have enough reserves to support the local currency. We've seen the city depreciating. Now, there are some people out there who might be doing some imports maybe in June. So when they see that depreciation, they rush to demand dollars from the banks and all the rest. What this would do is that it could go a long way to deal with that speculatory effect, let's say, on the city, because now I think that the Bank of Ghana's reserve position has improved greatly, and therefore they're in a better position to support the local currency. So it will not necessarily stop the depreciation. It could go a long way to slow the rate of depreciation that we've seen over the past week. Don't forget that the Minister of Finance said that before the end of this year, we're expecting about $1.2 billion from these donors. So all these things go a long way to give some assurance to the market that, listen, going forward, the Bank of Ghana might be in a better position to deal with your demands as an importer, as a business person. So that signal that was sent to the market could impact on the city positively.
All right, thank you very much, George. And of course, we shall follow up on that and keep you updated in our subsequent bulletins. We've got to continue with some other stories. Banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahini has implored the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, to engage the various financial regulators on settling the arrears owed members of Locked Up Investment Holders Forum. According to him, if their concerns are not addressed, that could have a serious implication to the financial sector going forward. Hence, a swift intervention is needed.
The financial sector reform, the one that happened in 2017, I don't think we took our time and went through systematically. Because all these institutions you are mentioning, at that time were at the verge of being insolvent. But we have kept so long a time that I wonder, why has it taken us so long a time to go into resolution of these issues? I would urge the Security and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Ghana to sit down with the Minister of Finance to resolve these issues as soon as possible. If you remember, the Gold Coast people had also the same issue. It means that the financial sector cleanup, for me, it wasn't done very systematically and proactively. That is why we have all these things happening aftermath. If we have taken our time, considering what the then finance minister said, I remember in some literature, he said he spent 26 billion. But as I speak to you today, nobody can tell us, segregate the amount that was used for this institution or that institution. And these are questions that I've always been asking. Why is Parliament not calling for the detailed segregation of payment so that we will know those who are outstanding and those who are? It is rather unfortunate that having done this only 2 years, 3 years ago, we're now being called upon to look at the other issues. Anytime we want to take this decision, I think the regulators, not one regulator, the regulators should sit down with the Minister of Finance and look at the resolution process and also the availability of funds to pay these people, which is very, very unfortunate. Because for 3 years, people's money has locked out. It is very difficult for them. So I believe the finance minister, the new finance minister, and the regulators should sit down and see how best these things are resolved as soon as possible.
You're still watching Business Life. We've got more for you after this break. Hello and welcome back to Business Live. He had seen and heard stories of many people who had graduated from the university but couldn't secure jobs after school. Theophilus Asifu Abuaje didn't want that to be his story too. Now, although he was pursuing a degree in social work and sociology at the University of Ghana, he acquired an extra skill in welding. Now, he has started his own business, Age Engineering, manufacturing machinery for the use in the agri sector. Joy Business Van follows his story. Enjoy.
The Joy Business Van is brought to you by EcoBank, a better way, a better Africa. MTN, what are we doing today? Theophilus Asifu Abuaje has a big vision of industrializing Africa and creating jobs for the increasing unemployed youth. His startup, Age Engineering, manufactures agri machinery, which helps tackle post-harvest losses. His interest in engineering was only to fix a problem at home. His mother's milling machines anytime they break down. Over time, Theophilus discovered he could do much more. After acquiring a bit of training and doing his own research, Theophilus got to work. He had designed machines with boxes. Now he had to really make them. He had just completed national service.
I started purchasing 102 from my national service money. That was during the period when I was doing national service. Because I knew now finding a job is difficult. There's one thing that my uncle told me when I was, I used to visit. Told me that you have to, don't finish school and come and stay in the house and be crying. Find out what illiterates are doing that is making them money and do some and add class to it. That is the whole essence of your education.
Unemployment is a major challenge in Ghana. Only about 10% of all university graduates gain employment in public service annually. Many left without hope. There is promise in technical and vocational education, but little investment has been made in that sector.
Throughout my study in school, I was thinking about it because I've had friends who had completed and they were struggling with jobs. So I felt it was expedient for me. Now that I can build the machines with boxes, why don't I push it a little bit further and then really build a machine and see if it will be possible.
It was not a smooth beginning.
When you see the first prototype I built, that was a cassava grinding machine. If you see the caricature I did, I was seriously surprised. Everyone was laughing at me. And then they said, we told you. We told you that there is no way you will be able to build this thing. You think building a machinery is the same as building same machinery boxes. So I built a cassava grinding machine and I didn't like the shape at all. I wasn't having a square then, so all the the dimensions and all that, I didn't get it right. It was looking like a caricature.
Theophilus had to go back to his uncle, the welder, to improve his skills.
So he taught me all the skills I needed to do, and I came back and then I actually knew how to build the machine in my imagination, but then putting it in practice, I've not done it before. So it took, I think, a month before I was able to build my first prototype, and then I put engine on it. It was working perfectly. And all the people that used to put at me, they were now, trying to gain interest in what I was doing because I was successful in building the first prototype. So I built a cassava grinding machine. That was the first prototype I built.
With success chalked, Theophilus was ready for business. But how viable was this going to be?
I realized that if I should build this machinery, a lot of people will purchase. And with the fufu milling machine and the cassava grinding machine, I am not the first person to produce it. There are a lot of guys who are producing some in timber markets. Most of these people, when they produce it, they give it to machinery merchandising companies. So I went there, I did my due diligence. I asked them about how fast, these machines that they buy from manufacturers, they go. And they told me that a lot of people actually buy it. So I also did few research, read a lot around it, and then I decided that these are the kind of machinery that I wanted to produce.
Theophilus discovered an even bigger challenge impacting the country's agri sector: post-harvest losses. A report published by the Danish Embassy in 2023 shows that the value of food losses and waste in Ghana is estimated at $1.9 billion per annum.
So that was where I gained interest in developing a threshing machinery for the last section of the underserved market segment who are into agriculture, who do not really have the means to purchase, these humongous machineries that are, or threshers that are on the market. So the aim was to add threshing machinery to the production, so that we will have machines that are professionally designed of high quality standard and economical as possible for this large section of underserved farmers who uses primitive mechanisms or traditional means in threshing their cereals.
Theophilus converted a portion of his home into a production facility. Next time, we get insight into what production entails.
This place is the extension of my home, and it has been turned into a production facility. So as you can see, we refer to ourselves as Africa's #1 thresher machinery manufacturers. So what you are seeing here is production that is currently ongoing. So what you are seeing here is a maize thresher machinery. And what this machine does is, after you have dehusked the maize, you put the maize inside, it threshes, the cob comes out, and then you get your grain. So what you are seeing right now is finishing that is ongoing. And then when you come to this place, this young gentleman here is working on the sieving system. So the sieving system, there is a sieve that is inside the machinery that helps in sieving the grain from the cob so that you can get a perfect thresh.
Thanks so much for being part of the bulletin. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Great stories on that portal. Get yourselves updated. See you same time tomorrow. I leave you with international business.